Hey guys, welcome. Happy Tuesday. We're almost to winter break, Christmas break, New Year's break. Don't go to prison break. I'm excited. Prison break, that's a real thing. So invite your friends. Hello, hello. Tell us where you are TikToking from. Where are you TikToking from? I'm waiting for Bonnie to tell us where she's TikToking from so she can follow the directions. There's a cheesehead. She's first one. She definitely is first in line, right? Bonnie did not put Texas. Okay. She doesn't know where it's a secret, y'all. That's why at Bonnie's IEP meetings, they bring an attorney. She won't even disclose where she is. New York, Kansas, Kentucky. I don't know. I'm just making it. Does Kansas have a Y in it? Probably not. Washington State, Texas. You guys don't know what cities you're in? That's fantastic. Did y'all see that? Did you see the phone attack me like that? Okay, y'all saw that. Okay, wow. You know, you ask for high tech and this is what you get. Did y'all see that I was injured by my Joby? I'm gonna have to report that to my staff. I don't know if I have any, but I'm gonna report that. That scared me. I was almost attacked by there. Okay, now everybody's safe. There's nothing to worry about. Nobody was harmed. Okay. Yes, I'm okay. Prosper, Texas. Thank you, sassy single mom of two, for following the directives. Okay. All right. Elise, you got questions?
Yes.
Spit them out. I can't hear them.
Yes. So a lot of people are asking how to join the Academy and what time it starts tonight.
The Academy always starts at 8 p.m. Central on Tuesday nights. We are in a series on assistive technology. It's so good. Although I had a bloodbath today in Texas about somebody telling me about the state code and we don't do that. And do I look like somebody that you tell we don't do that to? That's not really wisdom. So I sent them the federal code, 300.6, parent participation, parent concern for enhancing the education of their child. That wasn't true. Really? We just put the deliberations. I didn't know the deliberations were part of an IEP. They are. Wow, I never saw the deliberations section under IDEA. What school district was it, you're asking? It was the same school district you were in. Make it up as we go, independent school district. I don't know what is going on with my high-tech knowledge here. Okay, let's hear it, Alicia.
Okay, I have another one. They live in Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
2021, they passed the third grade reading retention law. So basically, if their child makes it to third grade and they can't read, they're getting held back. Mm-hmm. Would the IEP trump that law?
The IEP can be used to consider any exceptions to state statutes.
Okay. Somebody got hit in the head with a desk at work. Oh, man.
Thank you. I don't mean thank you. I think maybe they were saying because I was just attacked by my cell phone.
I think so, too. How should I ask for an IEP for an expanded fluency learning disability?
Expanded fluency learning disability. So that's not one of the SLDs. Can you give me more information about that? Expanded fluency learning disability. I don't know what that means.
Okay. Can a child be in the general ed classroom with an IEP?
A child can be anywhere in the school with an IEP.
Yes. For any change of placement, is there a law that states there must be data to support the change?
For anything that happens in the IEP, there must be data to support it. Otherwise, we're making unilateral decisions, and the school district decisions are predetermined.
Mm-hmm. What if your school did not provide records upon request? It's been over 45 days already.
I would reach back out to legal counsel for your district and say you are in violation of timeline. When can we expect the records?
Jessica says she's trying to get an ADA compliant playground. How do I get the district to pay for it without fundraising?
You have somebody amazing file an OCR complaint. And I will get every playground in the district. Oh, did I say I? And I will get every playground in your school district fixed.
And what does she need to do to get that to you?
So we do, just everybody, all 7,000 of y'all, just send it to me and I'll take care of all of them. It's not a problem. I got nothing but time on my hands. So we do a couple of things. We do trainings I do private one-on-one trainings or small group trainings for people that want to learn how to file OCR complaints for their school districts on playgrounds. We have advocates. We can represent you and file the complaint. It only takes about an hour to file the complaint. There's just a few items that I need from the person that's in the school district, and then I would be the complainant.
My daughter's math teacher has not given 8 of her accommodations this third 6 weeks. What do I do?
You would find some amazing to file with the U.S. Department of Education Office of, that's a civil rights complaint. First, you want to exhaust your options. So I would let the people know at the school that you are denying her FAPE by failure to implement her IEP. So not delivering her civil rights in her IEP is called failure to implement. Just want to say something about OCR complaints.
Reading fluency, learning disability.
So there's a specific learning disability in reading fluency. So that's under IDEA. So if you were wanting testing for an SLD, a specific learning disability, you would ask for evaluations for a formal cognition, formal IQ to include all 7 Gs, and then formal achievement to go along with that.
Can they lower my son's minutes after the STAR test?
The state testing has nothing to do with an IEP. So, no.
Jenny said, what can happen if a teacher puts false accommodations?
What can happen if a teacher puts false accommodations?
That's what the question said, ma'am.
I don't know what a false accommodation is. Do you mean that she falsified that she delivered the accommodations? I don't know what a false accommodation is.
All right, we'll see if she explains. What is the data used for an FBA? What are the benefits of an FBA?
So the data that's used to compile an NBA, if you're going to the National Basketball Association, the data for an FBA, a functional behavioral assessment, is compiled by the school-based members that work with the student, possibly a behavioral specialist from the district, maybe an LSSP, a licensed specialist in school psychology, a social worker, an LPC, depending on where you are in the United States. It depends on who they use. It's to gather data about the student's behaviors, what are the antecedents, what mitigates the impact of the behavior, what changes it, what interventions have worked, what interventions have not worked. So the benefit of the FBA is that we're trying to mitigate the impact of that behavior and teach a child replacement behaviors instead of the behavior that's initially in place. So additional benefits are if you have an FBA and you have a BIP, a Behavior Intervention Plan, or BISP, a Behavior Intervention Support Plan, that might also allow them certain protections under standard disciplinary action if there is a disciplinary need under the Student Code of Conduct.
Perfect. Thank you for that.
Yes.
If a child needs an RN to administer meds for a school-sponsored trip, does the school have to provide the RN?
Yes.
Perfect.
I mean, when you say school-sponsored trip, I mean, if not providing him what he needs, it's saying that he's provided daily, and all the other students are going, you would be denying him access.
Yes. Doodle Mom said, what are your top 3 accommodations for a kid going into middle school with severe ADHD and meds don't work?
That's a really good question. So my top 3 accommodations are do a robust evaluation so that we know what the student's unique needs are. The LSSP or the LPC or the social worker needs to do an updated emotional behavioral section. And then I would also reach out to my physician that I'll also quantify the disability and ask any recommendations from them. And then sit down as a committee and as the accommodations are laid out from the multidisciplinary team, decide as a committee which are best to meet your child's needs and which are most appropriate.
Thank you. Spooky Mom of 4, I feel you, girl. Ask, who in Oklahoma do we go to for help if the school is not helping the child with an IEP?
So whatever state you're in, you go up the chain of command, right? The first chain of command is the sheriff. That's the principal at your school. If that doesn't work, I would go to a coordinator or somebody in the special education department. If that doesn't work, I would go to the department who's in charge of the Department of Education, who's over education, or an assistant superintendent. If that doesn't work, I would file a state complaint.
Come Someone asked, before graduating from high school, should you switch an IEP to a 504? Before entering college.
So none of that's necessary. Nobody's going to pat you down in college and go, show me your IEP. Nobody's going to pat you down and say, where's your 504? If you have one, that's certainly going to give support for the student that needs the accommodations so that when they get in that meeting with a disability office in that college, but I've never had a student be denied accommodations in college with an IEP, with a 504 from high school, or without anything at all.
Perfect. This question is very important. Are you ready?
I'm right, it's ready.
Your lipstick is so pretty. What is it?
It is Revlon Matte. I sell them. Revlon has sponsored me. And you know what? Maybe it's not Maybelline. I'm ready. Whatever questions you have, ma'am. What is that show where they called you down and they asked you if you had a bobby pin in your purse? Let's make a deal, right?
Oh, yeah.
I would be good for that show.
You would. All right. So does the school testing count as identifying a disability?
So does the testing count as identifying the disability?
That's what she said.
So the testing is to identify if there's an educational need and if one of the 13 federal eligibilities are appropriate for the student in school. And so the multidisciplinary team members do their assessments, and then based on their recommendations from their sections, because they're all recommendations of the committee, when it's convened, makes those decisions.
Perfect. This one says, do you have to sign a FAPE agreement if the district can't provide appropriate education?
You have to sign a FAPE agreement. So the IEP, the agreement for FAPE has nothing to do with the parent. The FAPE requirement is from the school to the individual with a disability. At our 2-day intensive this weekend, I hammered them, and it's okay if people disagree with me. I'm not wrong about this. Sign the IEP. I don't know why people teach people to not sign the IEP. I'm going to sign the IEP. I'm going to indicate my position, and I'm going to capture my position. So when people say, don't sign it, you want to sign and capture it. The biggest problem I get in paperwork is people don't sign it. They don't disagree. They didn't capture their position. And, you haven't captured how you sat at the table and what your input was.
Thank you. Someone asked if Lexia should be used during RTI services.
You certainly could use Lexia as part of RTI, absolutely.
Then Texas Native asks, do students need to advocate for themselves? We have inclusion teachers that just sit and wait.
So nowhere in the federal law does say students with disabilities need to advocate for themselves. If a student has a sensory disability, if they're deaf and hard of hearing, they have a vision impairment, if they're blind or they're deaf-blind, they have an ECC, an expanded core curriculum, and part of that is advocacy, self-advocacy. But it's just a manipulation of words, right? Kids need to advocate for themselves. When kids advocate for themselves, sometimes teachers tell them to sit down, go back to their chair, right? So it's if teachers aren't delivering the student's IEP, it's a violation of FAPE or a violation of their civil rights under a 504.
Yes. And Jenny responded back. She said that she put the accommodations on the third 6 weeks, but the child did not get the accommodation. So she must be falsifying the document.
Yes. That would be a problem for me.
Yeah. Bonnie, you have a question?
Yes. So Lyrica is asking, what can I highlight? So I guess what can I do when my son with ADHD is having recess time taken away?
So there's nowhere in the world that we take away recess time because your student has an IEP or doesn't have an IEP. The reason kids in elementary school have recess is they need to move. So I would reach out to your Department of Education, and this is the email that I train everybody to write. Dear Department of Education, my child is being denied recess because they need to do whatever it is the teacher's wanting them to do. Please tell me where that is in the code. Please tell me where that is in the code. Because if it's in your state code, then that's something totally different. I've never seen that in the state code. But that's just bad teachering, if you ask me.
Thank you for that. The school had outside neuropsych testing done, and I don't agree with the results. What can I do?
The school had outside neuropsych testing done?
That's what it, yes.
Okay, so if you don't agree with the school's evaluation, then you would request an IEE, an independent education evaluation at the expense of the district.
Noelle said, hello, she's a special education teacher and a behavior specialist.
Hi.
Melissa said, what happens if a child shows no progress on his IEP goals for the second year in a row?
And that's the problem for the people delivering the IEP. So the reason he showed no progress is that the school-based members did not make appropriate adjustments, come back to the table, and look at new ways to implement the IEP, change the language of the IEP, or change the criteria of the IEP. But kids don't just not make progress on their IEP goal. They're not in isolation.
And then to follow up on the neuropsych, he said that he's in regular classes and passing, but the psych said he is intellectually disabled and needs self-contained.
And that was the IEE?
That was the one that said he didn't agree with the psych evaluation. Yes.
Okay, so it wouldn't be standard or appropriate for an evaluator, especially in the emotional behavior space, to talk about placement. They would talk about the disability and the impact on the student. So if that professional typed in self-contained, that would be sort of bizarre. But if you have an IEE, that must have meant that you had an evaluation from the school prior to that you didn't agree with. So if you don't want them moved from placement, you could file due process within a very brief period of time, and then a stay put. It's called pendency happens. So that means we hold the position of the student wherever they are until the matter is decided by a hearing officer. Yes, you can hire me. If you're in America, you can hire me, especially if you're near Mickey Mouse. So, sorry, I didn't read. I'm not reading.
Someone said they joined the academy today, but they don't know how to join the Zoom.
But they don't know how to join the Zoom?
Correct.
I've never joined the academy. I do the academy. So, but I don't. I don't know. What is the answer, Alicia?
So when you go into the academy and you log in, there's 2 yellow squares at the top, and one says it's the Zoom link. So you click on that and it'll automatically open up.
Yeah. I've never joined the academy. I am the academy.
You are the academy. But if they have any more questions, they can email admin@specialeducationacademy.com.
Yeah. If you have questions for...
Mouse and More, so maybe she lives by the mouse, said, how do I become as amazing as you? I work at a unique charter school with 75% special needs students.
Oh, well, I'm sure you're more than amazing. So thank you for serving kiddos. We want you guys to all train with us. We love people. We had 31 hooligans in our training this weekend. It was so much fun. And the air conditioning worked. We were thrown out of the lobby for being loud. Oof. But no, we want everybody in the United States trained. Teachers, we had teachers, we had tons of teachers. We had correctional officers, I don't know if that was just for me, diagnosticians, administration, behavior specialists. Almost all the people who come to our trainings are school-based members because they're excited to get the training. It's training they can actually use, and then go back and make effective change in their classroom. So come train with us. Yes, the 2-day intensive is on demand right now. You could just sit in your bathtub, spend 2 days with me. That probably doesn't sound good, does it? That's fine.
Yeah. That's one way to put it.
We won't make that a clip, okay? Don't put that. If you're in your bathtub and you like to spend time with me, that's not a class we're selling. But with these gas prices, who knows?
Oh, I think that's a different website.
That's a different website. It's a boss of something else.
Yeah. I have one more than Christina has.
Oh, teacher of Muggles. Hi. Miss Florida. She said training was amazing. And then somebody just said Paras. Yes, you want the training. The training is guaranteed. You'll never find a better training in special education than what I provide. You won't.
And as a former teacher, she's not lying. And then this question, as a teacher, how do I request a student with autism to receive a one-to-one aid? She has been collecting data for 9 weeks.
So that's a really good time to collect it, right? I always look at a grading period, so 6 to 9 weeks. So you present the data. If you can graph it, who doesn't love that? All hearing officers love a good graph. You present the data. The data speaks for itself. Based on this data, what will be our next steps to get the student the support they need? And then make them answer the question.
Christina, you have a question?
I do.
Christina wants to know how to turn the light back on at her house.
I know. Hey, when the kiddo wants to play in the tent, we play in the tent. So the Meg Talk asked, my son was tested. They say autism. Does this count as identifying a disability?
Yep, autism is one of the 13 federal eligibilities.
If the school refuses to provide a private and respectful area for personal care, who do I report that to?
So, I mean, for personal care, I would reach out. There'll be a head of nursing for your district. Love them. And I would reach out directly to them. That's completely unacceptable.
And then, Dadesker for life. Any tips or suggestions for mediation? Primary concern is not providing inclusion opportunities.
Yeah, so we have hundreds of hours of training on Special Education Academy. It's $47 a month, and we have a whole series on dispute resolution options, and mediation is one of them. I love mediation. Additionally, we have it on Special Education Academy YouTube. It's a 6-part series on your 6 dispute resolution options, and they are grievance in the district, state written complaint, mediation, due process, resolution session, or federal complaint with U.S. Department of Education Office of Civil Rights. So, mediation is fantastic.
So, this question's been asked multiple times. How often do students get updated cognitive testing? And should they get adult norms too?
So students get testing when the testing is requested. So of course you're going to have your initial testing, and if it was done correctly, the F stands for full and full individualized evaluation. When there's a need for more cognitive testing, I do that, right? So if a child's been identified with a specific learning disability, I'm certainly always going to ask at their triennial to update new cognitive testing to make sure that there's not a new area of a specific learning disability, but absolutely, that's when you do the testing.
And then, are 504 protections for public and private schools?
So 504, so 504 is a civil rights law. It applies to children in public schools, charter schools, and schools that receive funding under that type of academic setting. So there's no requirement for it in maybe if you go to a faith-based school or a private school or Miss Betty's come on down and learn during the day school.
Then Treasure Blake asked, how do I get the school to stop sending my son home due to behavior? He's on the spectrum.
Well, how does he get home? He gets home because you go and pick him up, I'm assuming, right? So you have to stop doing that. The school is charged with and has the onus to educate your child in all areas of need: emotional, behavioral, academic, cognitive, communicative, function, social, emotional, feeding, dressing, undressing, everything that's a need at school. They have that responsibility. I would call the director of special education and say, your campus that teaches my son is in need of some staffing assistance. Confirm that they won't be calling me to pick him up. Otherwise, we need to convene an IEP meeting and look at private out-of-district placement at the expense of the school. Let me know how you would like to proceed.
Mama Bo asked, after requesting the raw data, how long does the school have to get that data back to you?
Well, hopefully they have it. So this is what I do. This is my training. So I'm going to send an email. If you guys just want to have a little bit of fun, let's all send this email tonight. Hey, we just want to let you know at the end of each grading period, I'll be picking up the raw data collection sheets that were used to track progress on all of my children's IEP goals. Please let me know the best way to pick up those data sheets. If I don't get it that way, then I would use, we have a very robust sheet that we use for people to make a Freedom of Information request or open record. That's available. It's part of the Academy. Bonnie, I feel like you just are busting at the Bonnie seams. Are there Bonnie seams?
Yeah, there are Bonnie seams. Someone's asking, is there a website where your in-person training dates are listed?
Yep, specialeducationacademy.com.
Okay. And after pre-K screening, is it okay to require teachers to MTSS instead of providing an IEP?
So I would say, why do you want MTSS instead of an IEP? Because MTSS is just small groups. We're doing a little extra. An IEP is an individualized education program where your student can receive targeted intervention, specially designed instruction, support service minutes, and a robust program to mitigate the impact of their disability.
Okay. Any tips for mediation?
Yes, I feel like we already had that question. Same answer. We have our modules on Special Education Academy YouTube, the 6-part series of your 6 dispute resolution options. Hi, Michigan.
So general ed student has an evaluation and qualifies for IEP. Does child have to be moved to ICT? Not sure what that.
In-class support, probably in-class support teacher, something like that, in-class support. So special education is like your first marriage. It's consensual, right? So first of all, you have to sign consent for initial provision of services. You sort of have to switch it from, does he have to, or is that the best place to benefit him? So hopefully we've talked as a committee of the best place to maximize his educational needs. If that means a move, while it might be uncomfortable for a moment, the gains, the benefit's going to outweigh any anticipated harmful effect.
Okay, and can the district refuse certain services like a one-to-one para due to lack of funding or staff?
No. And this is what I say at meetings. When people mention their funding or their staff, I say, that makes me very uncomfortable when you talk about your funding and your staff, and it's none of my business. It's certainly not the business of my client. Please let me know when you will provide the entire IEP to the student.
Okay. And then when can you add things to an IEP?
When they're needed.
Oh, Karen.
Ooh, Alicia.
Communication advice keeps getting taken away from him at school. What can I do?
That would be not okay. So your assistive technology needs are part of your educational program. So I would reach out directly to the special education director and ask why you're allowing the school-based members to take away his voice. I would also ask for compensatory time to make up for him not having equal access. The federal law says that the teachers must be as successful as communicating with the student in the classroom with the communication device as the other students they teach. So the fact that it's being taken away is very much a violation of your civil rights.
Liz said, hey.
Liz, I love you. I haven't looked at Talbot's, but I will be in just a minute.
And then I did have people asking if they were going to have another 2-day in-person soon.
Yes, we only have one more scheduled. I have a very busy teaching and speaking schedule in the spring, but we have one more. It is the Martin Luther King Jr. Day weekend, so it's that Saturday and Sunday, the 14th and 15th of January 2023. So come on down. We'll have a bunch of fun. More fun than should be necessary.
Sunshine and Beaches is asking, our school keeps reducing my daughter's therapy times per week. Can I fight this?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
With a 1-2 punch. No, I'm just kidding.
I did not say that. That was somebody else.
Do you know of any homeschool programs that are great with special education students?
No, because homeschool is you in your home, right? So I am not a teacher. I like children. I would not have been a good homeschool parent. I do know that there's co-ops for homeschools, but I've never heard of one that has specialization in special needs. Doesn't mean there isn't one. But no, I've never heard of one.
And what requirements are needed to receive unique accommodations to have reading passages read aloud?
So reading a reading passage aloud, then you're not measuring the child's reading, right? So it's, as it relates to other content areas, you can have those passages read aloud, right? Math, science, and social studies. But if I'm reading the reading passage to you and then I ask you questions about it, I'm not measuring your reading.
How long after you request the raw data is made for them to give it to you, the school is telling them that they will not give them the raw data collection sheets or emails?
Okay. Well, I would just say, please provide me that response in a prior written notice by close of business. Please provide me your denial of my children's educational records in a prior written notice by close of business. Because access to view, have a copy of your child's educational records is part of your procedural safeguards, and so that would be a violation of your procedural safeguards.
This is a good question. Lady Circus says, as a teacher going into an IEP, how do you handle being told not to mention accommodations to the parents?
Come train with us to be an advocate. I love teachers. Probably 20% of my clients are school-based members. It's horrific that amazing teachers, the people that do all the work, teachers and paras and all the great people that do all the work, are prepped and hushed. And they are every day all over the place. It's not an isolation. It breaks the spirit of the teacher, and it causes false division between the parent and the teacher, because probably that amazing teacher already shared that she had some exciting things that we could do for your child. And so it's terrible.
Okay, and what do I do, or what do I need to do if they took my daughter's 504 away?
So I would ask for new evaluations for a full IEP. I would recommend, at some point, sometimes you're going to have to invest in an advocate. We have a team now of affiliates that have completed the 2-day intensive and then the 12-week Mastermind, and they've been personally trained by me. You're going to need to invest in an advocate sometimes, just like you have to invest in your car, you have to invest in your home. It's about your child's entire future. I don't know that you'll make a better investment in your child's special education than with a good advocate.
Yes. What is the difference between accommodations and modifications?
So accommodations change how you learn. Modification changes what you learn. So advocates range between $50 an hour to about $3.50 an hour.
Can you explain what a procedural safeguard is?
Yes, procedural safeguards are in place to protect the student with the disability between the ages of 3 and 22, and protect the parents of the student of that disability. And they are very important to know. We have a, how many week, Alicia?
11.
An 11-week training on the Academy. So 22 hours of training on your procedural safeguards. You should go watch it.
In Ohio, there's an autism scholarship that can be used by homeschool. There you go. Somebody's helping you out. What do I need to do if they took my daughter's 504 away?
Yeah, Bonnie just asked that question. So,
I'm sorry.
Yeah, and again, there is some times where you're going to have to invest in a professional, when you go into an IEP meeting, when you go into a 504 meeting, you're outmanned. You're always going to be outmanned. I do about 500 IEP meetings a year because I like to grind my teeth. And they're intense. There's a reason there's 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12 of them. And you have to realize that schools have been trained by the bean counters, not by the great teachers, to tell parents no. They've been trained that way since 1975. Last week was the 47th anniversary of the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act. In a lot of ways, we haven't moved at all. I've been doing this for 26 years, and teachers have even, how I got into this space, and somebody asked earlier, I was at my son's first IEP meeting, and the lady next to me had a little piece of paper, and she folded it up, and then like she slid it to me, but never looked at me, like we were doing something illegal. And I got outside and I opened it, and it was information for MHMR, Mental Health, Mental Retardation of Travis County in Texas. It was an agency, just a government agency that helps kids with disabilities. And I thought, how sad that we live in America and it has to be a secret to tell parents with children about something that can help them. And it's not any different today than when I started in 1993.
Yes. I have two questions back to back that kind of are the same. So one said, do you recommend advocating and teaching concurrently? I don't want to leave the classroom. And the one right underneath it said, why can't advocates be special education teachers if they don't work for the district? So
I'm going to let Bonnie really loudly answer that question. So two of the young ladies that are helping me, people come to my training and, to be better equipped. And Bonnie, I'm just going to let you tell your story about your teacher and what happened with your friend that was a nurse. So really loud.
Yeah, so I was a teacher in the classroom, and I was approached by a real good friend of mine whose daughter was entering special education, and she had no idea what was going on in the space. She's an RN, and she asked for me to help her, guide her through this process. And so I did, and I, went to her ARD meeting here in Texas, and then, had a few repercussions in my own job because I went and helped her daughter. And so that was unfortunate. So you really can't be a teacher on the inside, but you absolutely can help kids and be more effective from the outside in.
Right. And I see some people saying that you can do both, and that's great. But you guys are unicorns. You're in unicorn schools. I do professional developments from coast to coast. I talk to thousands of people every year. I train thousands of people. And, it's unfortunate that we don't, I just got a text from somebody who's a teacher that was in Kentucky, and she got called in today for helping the parents too much at the meeting, and she teaches their kid. So those aren't my stories. I don't work in a school. I wish it wasn't true. I mean, you guys tell me in the feed, are you a special education teacher and you're allowed to help, you're allowed to advocate for and show parents stuff that they can legally have, and there's no response to that intervention? It's a different kind of RTI.
Mm-hmm.
Should we all quit our jobs and be advocates? No, you shouldn't all quit your jobs and be advocates. Maybe the people on this thread might want to do that. There are lots of people that want to be teachers and love being teachers. I'm not saying that. But there are teachers that special ed gets in, it's like in your DNA, right? It's like you could never not do it. So the good news is, if you were a beginning advocate and you made $50 an hour, that's 6 figures. That might be about what you make at your school now. I'm not sure where you live. And I have been advocating for over a couple decades, but I've been sitting right here since March 13th, 2020, because everything that I do is by Zoom, whether it's a due process hearing, a mediation representing somebody in New Hampshire, San Diego, Moses Lake, Washington, or Miami. So you can sit at your house and change children's lives and give families hope. So if you're interested in being an advocate, you will not find better training than what we have. Oh, that was great. Whatever you just did. That was fantastic.
Jessica asked, why would a school not recognize the ADOS-2 test as a diagnosis of ASD?
So a test is not a diagnosis. The only person that can give a diagnosis is somebody that went to medical school. So assessments that we use in school make determinations. So there is a difference.
Crafty Chaos said, how do I get an advocate?
So you've got a number of things. You can reach out to your state. Sometimes states have a list of advocates and a list of attorneys. Ask for that. You can reach out to COPA, Coalition of Parent Association, Parent Advocates and Attorneys, or you could reach out to us. We have the best and most amazing trained special education advocates that will serve you. So if you're wanting any of that information, or you want to sign up for our classes, or you want to hire us, or you want to wear the same lipstick that I'm wearing, which who doesn't, you would just email us at admin@specialeducationacademy.com.
Perfect. And then I think this is a good question. What questions do you ask an advocate to determine if they are a good fit for you and your situational needs?
Are you a lunatic? That's the first thing I would ask. Yeah, I want my advocate to be unbelievably confident. I want my advocate to be able to lead. I want my advocate to have a robust knowledge of federal requirements and state requirements. I want my advocate to not move their position as they advocate for my student. I think one of the greatest failures when I get clients is people that have invested in advocates that were paralegals or attorneys or advocates and had their shingle out for years and had been doing it, and they did nothing for them in the meeting, but they billed them. So somebody will put that email in the chat. I'm the best at what I do, and that my advocates are the best at what they do. So I would want an advocate who is busy, who is revered by the school district. We don't need to be in love, but we were at the training this weekend. My last name is Cunningham, one of them, because I've had a bunch of husbands. And she said, she's a diagnostician, and she said in her district they were saying, who's their advocate? And the lady goes, this is a Cunningham kid. She's like, oh, I don't want any part of that. So to make change for a child in a system that's a government entity, I want somebody that knows what they're doing. And I'm willing to invest in that. I want somebody that knows what they're doing if they're going to represent my child in a criminal case. I want somebody that knows what they're doing if they're going to do surgery on my child. And the person that's going to get you the best educational benefit for your child is an amazing advocate.
Yes, a lot of teachers are saying they would get in a lot of trouble for advocating at the table with their students.
If you know what? You could come to the training, and then in June, you could start your business. It's fantastic.
Miss R says hi. Miss R's project says hi.
Hi, Miss R. I'm going to be on Miss R's podcast. I'm so excited. It's going to be in mountain time. I don't know if that means like I have to wear like hiking boots, but I'm very excited.
Someone asked, can you file an OCR with the state and still file a lawsuit after the fact?
So part of our amazing training is I teach you exactly how not to make those mistakes. And when you are filing, the first thing that entity is going to do is ask you, do you have this filed somewhere else? So depending on the need drives the kind of filing. They all of those things oversee and have jurisdiction over different components of your child's education or 504. So it's very specific about how I would file and which entity I would file.
I think this is a good question that Amanda asked. What do you say to teachers who don't believe in 504 IEPs for students with behavioral challenges?
I'm glad that I'm not living my life based on somebody's beliefs. I'm living my life based on federal law and state requirements. And it's unfortunate, and it's discriminatory, and it's segregation at its finest. Somebody said they don't believe in air. I don't believe in air, but it's pretty important.
That's Landline Ray's. You remember her from last week?
Landline!
The little one-liners in there.
Yeah, ba-bam.
Ba-bam. A lot of people are asking about the Mastermind, and I just want to make sure that they know the steps to get to that. So we have I am very intense. Whatever anybody said about me, it was true. I'll take it all. I'll take all the love. Good news, bad news, it's all news. So I expect people that I train to have the same spirit of excellence. So we have a 10-week mastermind. We have 2 of them opening in January. And they're limited. It's not a sales tactic. They just are because it's a lot. But the prerequisite to be in the mastermind is that you have to have done the 2-day intensive. And so the 2-day intensive is in person. We have one in January, but we have it digitally online. So if you're wanting to participate in the mastermind, you have to have completed the 2-day intensive before the first day of the mastermind. Otherwise, we will very sadly not be able to take you and refund your money. Yes. Thank you for explaining that.
Mm-hmm.
Who has the final say in what goes into a 504 plan?
A really good team has the final say. You're a team. So the 504 team should collaborate and make decisions to benefit the student.
Okay, and then this one says, do behavior students that are in special education need a 504?
No. So students either need a 504 or students need an IEP. So based on the acuity of your disability, they need one of those. So if you go to Special Education Academy YouTube, we have videos on the 5 pillars of the IEP. It's about a 45-minute video. Watch that, and we talk about the differences between what happens after testing. What are the 3 outcomes? You have one of 3 outcomes, right? It's determined that your student does not need anything more than is provided to them through general education. Your student needs more through a 504 plan, or your student needs an IEP.
So this is a question. It says from this, or she's a special educator here, Gen Ed is not providing modifications. Would a state complaint come back on me as a SPED teacher?
Yes. Here's the problem with, when you work for a government entity. Usually doesn't go well if you complain about the entity. Oh, somebody very funny said, is there a teacher discount for training? Yes, there's a discount. No, the training is the training, but all the trainings have a payment plan. Oh, this lady said, we need knowledgeable sharks to advocate for our kids. That's me. I'm a shark. I would be a shark, except for the water would mess up my hairdo. But yeah, you are going to be just like me. I'm sure you are, Miss Hudson. And I want to tell you, the 2-day training is not to become an advocate necessarily like I am. It's for people to go back and be even better diagnosticians, even better principals, even better superintendents, even better behavioral specialists. They want the knowledge to go back and be more effective in the classroom.
So I have a couple people asking again about that lipstick color.
This is the last time I'm going to tell you. This stuff is so good. So this is Revlon. We're close friends. It's the best stuff. However, the second best stuff, maybe I'm going to be like, Bethany Frankel, and I'll do, is Colourpop. This stuff is so good. Colourpop Lipstick. See, we're just happy to educate you on everything. We will teach you things you didn't want to know.
So this question says, I live in Florida. Is all the info that you're giving applicable only to Texas?
No, it's the United States of America. Why did I become an advocate? I became an advocate accidentally. I was not planning on becoming an advocate. I was planning on being popular. So my child had a disability, and the school called CPS on us when he was 3. And I am not pleasant when you do something that affects my child and it's a lie. And so I became on a call list for the Texas Education Agency for kind of new parents had new diagnosis. And I just became obsessed with the law, Like, this is like, we can win. These kids can win. And I just started helping families, and it just became a passion of mine. And then my vocation. I love these kids. Love these kids. Love the law. And I love getting it right for kids. And when we get it right for kids, we get it right for everybody.
Yes, thank you for that. What resources are available for autistic kids with an IEP in public school?
Say that again?
What resources are available for a child with ASD in public school?
So the resources, I would go to your IEP team and ask that question. What are the resources available for him? Again, it depends on your child's unique needs. You could have 5 kids that have autism that have none of the same needs, right? So those kiddos might have behavioral needs. They might not have behavioral needs. They might have cognitive needs. They might not have cognitive needs. They might have sensory needs. They might have sound needs. They might have whatever those needs are. Then you access those resources at your school or the district.
Yes. And we only have a few more minutes for the academy call starts. What is the difference between an educational and behavioral IEP?
Well, there's no such thing as a either one, right? So an IEP is an individualized education plan. And that individualized education plan identifies your child's unique needs. And based on their unique circumstances, we write IEP goals around that. Those may include, but are not limited to, behavioral goals, functional goals, related service goals, communicative goals, social goals, academic goals, goals to get your hair really big. So it's an IEP, an individualized education plan.
Yes, my daughter just got an IEP, and we found out her teacher is leaving in January. And any advice?
Ask her if she's going to the training in January to be an advocate. No. So, I mean, that's tough, right? But it's also real world. So hopefully that, the school is planned ahead, and knowing your child's needs, that they're looking for somebody that can give her equal access to the curriculum.
Yes. Why would a school not put a para on the IEP if it was agreed upon during the IEP meeting?
Oh, that is a question I have not the answer for. But I can tell you the answer because they chose not to. That's it. I wish it was sexier than that. It's not. They didn't do it because they chose not to. And so based on their choices to deny my student their IEP, I'm going to be due some compensatory time for the student with a disability and track the time it's not delivered.
Yes, I think this one is a really good question. And it just scrolled and went away. I'll find it. Can my son with an IEP be kicked out of high school without another school to go to?
So kicked out of high school is not a thing. You can have a behavior or an action that causes a disciplinary action. So if there was a disciplinary action and it was related to his behavior, you should have had an MDR, a manifestation determination resolution meeting. But I'm not sure exactly what happened with your student. I would have to have all of those components. As an advocate, can you disagree with the client's wants? No, we have to do exactly what the client said. I don't care what the client wants. Listen to me. I don't care what the client wants. My job is to advocate based upon what the student with a disability needs and is required to have under state and federal law. If my clients want to follow my leadership and we get that done, great. If not, I refer them to somebody else who just wants to bill people.
Yes, I found the question. Do you know if a support teacher will have any conflicts if they take your classes?
No, if you don't, we don't film people. We don't post people's picture on the internet like they've been arrested. No, we're not saying, hey, Miss Smith was here from Elm Elementary School, and we wanted you to know that we don't do any of that. So, if you don't want your name anywhere, like on a post, sometimes we just do group pictures or whatever, then that's not posted. We don't give out your information.
Yes. And we have 2 more questions that we can take before we have to go. Do they have to qualify for special education to have an IEP?
You have to meet eligibility requirements. Yep.
Amen to that.
I have a question. When is Tokenhead Cheesehead coming to Texas for the training? Because the whole group's wanting to know.
When are you coming?
Because whenever she's coming, everybody else wants to come.
That's right. You're not wrong. Someone said Aquanet will give you big help.
Oh, those were the days. Remember the white can with the pink label? Those were good times.
She said, seriously. Last one. How can I share your information to our school district to attend your sessions?
Teachers from Alaska and teachers from Kentucky and teachers from Arizona, their districts paid to come to our 2-day training. So it depends on how your school allocates those funds. I also do professional development for state conferences and school districts. Otherwise, I would just, get in your grandma's bank and get the money.
Amen. All right. Well, we need to go.
Okay. Thanks, you guys. If you need something, let us know. We're available at admin@specialeducationacademy.com. Remember, we get it right for the student. We get it right for everybody. Thanks, you guys, for serving kiddos and loving kiddos. And we'll see you next Tuesday at Ask the Advocate.